Hello and welcome to Curiosity Chronicles. Today we're going to dive into this crazy topic that I never in a million years did I think this would be what people would be talking about. The Salvation Army Angel Tree. So in case you haven't heard of it, basically in different communities, the Salvation Army will collect gifts, Christmas gifts for children in need. Children whose parents sign them up for the program, and they indicate what the children would like for Christmas, and then they go onto this big tree. You might see it in the mall, you might see it in Walmart. There's all kinds of places where they put these trees, and then people in the community will take a card off the tree. There's like a little tag on the tree with the child's like age and what they want for Christmas, and then they shop for that child and give those gifts to the Salvation Army. And then this is where it gets weird. This is where things go sideways. So I live in Canada, and in Canada, as far as I know, my local Salvation Army does it completely different than all of these stories I've been hearing that are all American stories. But the message here stands, because what has happened is a number of moms have gone online to record videos complaining about what they received for their children, which is kind of like, But I dug a little deeper, and really kind of explored this for myself, because I thought, like, how should we be feeling about this? Because it's a very curious thing, isn't it? Like, people don't have the money to buy gifts for their children. They ask their neighbors to buy gifts for their children, and then they complain about what the neighbors bought. So there's a lot to it, and I can see both sides of the issues. There was a number of people saying beggars can't be choosers, and at the same time, this is about children. This is not about their parents. This is about children and making some magic for them. And yes, I wrote down all my thoughts because I had so many different things rolling around in my head. I thought there's no way this is going to go in a straight line if I don't have notes. So on one hand, if you're signing your kids up for the Angel Tree, perhaps asking your neighbors, which is who buys the gifts for your kids, by the way, to buy your kids everything they want, including a tablet, a drone, and other high-price items, is begging to be disappointed. And if you think that's not what's going on, think again. Think again. So on the other hand, if you can't afford or don't want to spend that kind of money, don't take the tag off the tree. Because I have discovered in America, that tag belongs to a specific child. And that's where I think we're running into issues. So whatever one person or a group of people, whatever buys for that one child, that's what they are given. And whereas in Canada, at least in my community, my local Salvation Army, they just gather up everything. They put out, names, fake names, and with ages, because what they're hoping is that they'll get stuff for 16-year-old girls and 14-year-old boys. And then what they do is they sort of gather it all together, and then the Salvation Army will then distribute it in a way that makes sense for the people in our community. So they'll boost things up. They'll, like, if somebody, only donated like one little thing, then that just goes in with everything else, and then it gets matched to the children in need. Whereas what I discovered in America is that tag is for a specific child, and whatever you buy and hand in with that tag, that's all that child gets. And I think that's a really important thing to remember in this conversation. So if you can't afford to buy what's on that card, maybe don't take it. Maybe don't take it. If you can't afford to buy a tablet for a child, don't take the tag, because then that child might not get anything, right? Or they might just get, socks and underwear, right? That's what I always threatened my son with socks and underwear. And so there was somebody that I was watching. I mean, there's all these conversations online about it, and somebody commented saying that in their own town, the tree was still full of tags. And this is like the weekend before Christmas, like the 21st, 22nd of Christmas, or December, this conversation is taking on. And she said it was curious to her that no one was taking tags off this tree. So she looked at the tags and saw every single one of them had all these expensive items on them. So it's likely that people in that community, in that neighborhood, can't afford to buy these things for their own children, let alone for other people's children. And so then the kids maybe don't get anything. I don't know how it works when nobody takes the tag for a child. So yeah, I would think that perhaps that's why sometimes the people who are complaining, they're complaining about, oh, my kid got, some socks and a sweater and a book, like, and that disappointment on the mother. So it was interesting to me that every woman, no men, it was just women, all of the women were complaining about what they got. They all started by saying, I'm not an ungrateful person, and then went on to list their grievances. And then they would rant about it. And there was one woman who did actually have a very reasonable point. She had 3 children. Yeah, so she showed what she got for her 3 children, and it wasn't even, to me, when I looked at it, I was like, that's not even enough for one child. So a YouTuber actually got in touch with her and asked her for her Cash App and sent her some money so that she herself could go buy some gifts for her kids. But everybody else I saw complaining got lots of stuff, and it wasn't cheap either. So where people were getting angry is that the same woman who was complaining, and all of these women actually, and only women were complaining. Like, that's all we saw was women. Not only were they struggling to buy presents, Christmas presents for the child they already had, they were making more children. And so she already had her kids on the angel tree in previous years, and then made another baby that she couldn't afford. And I'm like, why not wait until you are actually on your feet a little bit more and in a better position? But I may be wrong. I'm open to being wrong about that. I'm open to being completely not understanding the situation. I know personally myself, and then other people who were commenting on the situation were kind of saying the same thing. Like, if you can't afford the 3 children you already have, why are you making more? And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that, but I just know I'm not alone in wondering why these women are actually making their life harder. So one woman responded to a video about this, saying basically the same thing. And she always thought it was meant to be a one-off thing and not a way of life. Yeah, there's people who've been doing this for years. The angel tree, that is, she said. And she said she assumed it was for when you're down on your luck and not for a child's entire childhood. So there's that. I guess we always kind of live in the hope that once people have been given a little hand up, they will keep going in that momentum and make their lives as good as they can get, as good as they can do. But I also recognize that things are a little tough right now. So especially this year. So I saw a woman ranting that she got her kids approved, but when she got to the warehouse to pick everything up, she was told her family earned $200 more that year than the income limit. So she wouldn't be getting anything after all. I can understand her anger. I can understand her frustration. She does have a valid point in that frustration. And this happened on December 20th or 21st, that weekend. Right? So I can imagine, like, you've been told you're approved. You're like, okay, great. I know I'm going to have some presents for my kids. And then find out when you go to pick up the presents that, no, they've canceled you. That would be infuriating. But, big but, she went on to say that she's had kids in the Angel Tree program for the last 5 Christmases, and all of her kids are under 5. So 5 and under, which means she's in this situation and still making more children. And I don't, I just think that I don't want to, like, I'm not sitting here judging people for having children. I love seeing people with big, beautiful families, but I also don't like seeing those children being raised in poverty either. So this woman did, so she's gone on to have more kids in this time. From the first year that she did it, she's had a couple more kids. And she went on to say that they got all the things like food stamps and WIC, I think it's called in America. And she still has no money, even though she works, but still has no money. So I might be totally off base here. I could be. Like I said earlier, I could be so wrong here, but I don't know. I still don't get what feels like an intentional downward spiral, like 5 years of getting assistance and there's no improvement. So I don't know. I don't know like I said, I don't know what the answer is to this. I don't know, but I do find it very curious. And so this is a good point to point out, but good time to point out that there were no men in these conversations. And I suspect that the reason is that no man would survive the hate and venom he would get for not working, making babies he can't afford, and can't pay for. So if we're wondering if the double standard is alive and well, yes, it is. Yes, it is. And so someone in my own town posted that after buying presents for her children, she had no money left to buy decorations for the tree and was desperately begging for money because her children will be devastated if there's no decorations on the tree. And so I was like, well, what happened to your ornaments from before? Or why not give the kids paper and scissors and a stapler or glue or something, some craft tools, and they could make garlands for the tree, and it would probably go down as the most beautiful memory that those children look back on is the year they made all the decorations and decorated the tree. But nope. No, she wanted brand new store-bought decorations, and they're probably in beige. Okay. Because there's a whole other conversation taking place about the sad beige Christmas that everybody seems to be striving for. So yeah, I like a nice big colorful Christmas. Myself, I'm a Gen Xer. I like my Christmases to look like they did in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. That to me is what Christmas should look like. So on Christmas Day, someone in my town, a whole other person in my town, posted publicly a huge rant demanding to know why the food bank did not tell her she could have had a hamper delivered, and not a single person in this town has any consideration for people who don't drive. And I was so tempted to comment that I would bring her a meal, but I can't drink and drive. Yeah, she called us all a fun bunch of town drunks who, and I, like, obviously at that point, no one's willing to help her. Everybody's just like, yeah, whatever, sit down, sober up, right? So fun fact, I did look into this. The food bank does not do the hampers. So yeah, I'm sure someone showed them the post that this woman made, so they'll be aware of what their client has to say at the food bank. Yeah, say about them at the food bank. I believe the hampers are done by the Salvation Army. Yeah, the same people that everyone's angry at over the Angel Tree. Everybody's angry at the Salvation Army this year. And so really, I think this boils down to high expectations, lack of accountability, and a lack of gratitude. And we all need to remember that the Giving Tree is not a magical place. The gifts are donated by our neighbors who worked for that money and paid taxes on it, and then used some of what they take home to help another family. like the woman who gave a family $300 worth of gifts, all the things those children asked for, plus more. And the mother filmed it saying the angel tree did her dirty. And that woman saw it. The woman who gave all those gifts saw it. And she made her own video talking about how livid she is about it. So yeah, the algorithm knows where you live. So be careful when you're posting rants about things like this, because the person who donated it might just see it. I live in a small community. I've donated clothes to the thrift shop, like when I'm cleaning out my closet, when I've, lost weight or whatever, and I'm, donating clothes. And then later, throughout the year, I have seen people wearing those pieces of clothing. So, that's just a local town algorithm right there, passing people in the street. But the caution here is about posting videos about people in your town. And I think it's important to remember that the people who donate to Angel Tree, they're your neighbors. This is not just a corporation. They're human beings in your own community who donate all of this to children who might not get anything for Christmas otherwise. So if you're signing your kids up, you might want to manage their expectations and not put all expensive items, or they might not get anything at all, because that's always a possibility. And if you do want to help a family, yay, what a great way to give in at the end of the year, right? But please choose a child that you can afford to shop for and get them exactly what they asked for. And there's a reason for this. One mom complained that the clothes were too big, but I also know, as a mom myself, I would always buy a size bigger so that they can grow into it. That's what we do, right? We size up. Nobody gives a 3-month-old clothes. They give them 6-month-old clothes so that they can grow into it and it lasts longer. But somebody made the point that the mom might have already sized up. And now if we then size up again, now we've got a 6-year-old in clothes meant for, potentially a 10-year-old, and they can't wear them. So I get the frustration, because there was people saying, well, can't your kids just grow into it? And it's well, it could be years before they actually, the pants, if you've ever had a pair of pants that are way too big, they fall down. You just can't, the mom has done the work to provide all the information about the children, and we need to trust her. Even though, and none of this is for her. These are for the children. Okay, it's really important to remember this is about the children, not the moms, and not judging the moms, and not, maybe we have questions, but certainly let's focus on the fact that this is the children. So this mom, may have sized up, and then the person buying sized up, and now we've got stuff that are way too big, and the child can't actually wear them. And then if she was hoping that she might get a little bit of clothes for her kids for the winter, she still now has to go out and buy clothes that fit. Okay, so there's that. I saw one mom posted a photo of the tag on a package, and it was just some kid's underwear, it's a little girl undies. Okay, what a nice, sweet thing, right? And the barcode was crossed out with a Sharpie. And the word donated was written on it. And that really bothered me. That bothered me a lot, actually, to be honest, because it sends the message that the person who donated it believes the parent will return it for cash or something they want for themselves. We're not going to get into what those purchases might be, but I'm sure we can all use our imagination. And I'm sure that does happen. I'm absolutely sure. But when we give a gift, we don't get to dictate what happens to it. There's nothing that irritates me more than somebody gives me something. My mother used to do this. I don't have a relationship with my mother, so it doesn't matter. But she would give me something, and then, or something for my son back when I did have a relationship with her. And then, the next time she saw me or him, be well, do you not wear the outfit I gave you? And it's well, yeah, just not today, right? So you can't dictate what people do with a gift. Okay. That's the whole thing. Otherwise it's not a gift. It's a transaction. And, imagine if people chased us about every gift they've given us, and we've regifted it or sold it or given it to somebody that it was appropriate for. It isn't cool to treat people like that just because they may be I'll just say the word. So, yeah, what if that underwear didn't fit that child and now the mother can't even exchange it for, to take her child to the store and let the child pick out underwear in the right size for her. Like, we don't know what the situation is. So, it's kind of like that thing, like, don't give homeless people any money. They'll just spend it on booze. And it's like, well, don't you spend your money on booze? Yeah, it's a curious thing. But I thought, you know what? This has been on my mind for a few weeks now after watching this unfold. Yeah, we're a month after Christmas, but it's still snowing, so it's still Christmassy here. Um, and I just really felt like I needed to sort of get this out because it's been rolling around in my head all this time. And I'll just bring this to the top in December, so in case you need a reminder. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Stay curious.